Let's get right into it. Real quick, this explainer is brought to you by CertFuel. They've got a full Series 63 course with adaptive study quizzes, smart flashcards, and unlimited practice exams weighted exactly like the real thing, so go check them out at certfuel.com. All right, picture this. Our good friend Iris the investor has been saving her money for literally years. One day she walks into her brokerage firm's massive steel vault, pulls open that heavy metal door, and nothing. Just tumbleweeds and a single sad moth. The firm collapsed, and her money is totally gone. Panic mode, right? Who is going to rescue her assets? Well, that is exactly what we are going to figure out today.
To understand how Iris gets her money back, you have to burn this one core concept into your brain. Think of it like this. It's a locksmith, not a bodyguard for your portfolio's value. What does that actually mean? Well, if Iris's vault is broken open and her shares are physically missing, the locksmith steps in, replaces the locks, and restores what was stolen. But if her shares are sitting perfectly safely inside that vault, but the companies she invested in are just tanking and going bankrupt, the bodyguard is not going to step in to save her. It does not protect you from making a bad investment. It only protects against missing property.
So who is this magical locksmith? It's the Securities Investor Protection Corporation, which we call SIPC. And I want you to remember that full name, the Securities Investor Protection Corporation. Now, here's a really fascinating detail about them, and it's a huge test point. They were created by Congress, sure, but they are absolutely not a government agency. No way. They are a private, nonprofit membership corporation. And who funds them? The member broker-dealers themselves pay into it through assessments. Oh, and quick side note, investment advisors are not members, because this coverage is all about brokerage accounts holding your custody assets, not about advisory relationships. Okay, so when exactly does the Securities Investor Protection Corporation actually spring into action? It takes a very strict and condition. Both things have to happen. Step 1, the member brokerage firm fails financially. And step 2, customer assets are missing from the accounts. You need both. When both of those boxes are checked, they initiate a liquidation proceeding in federal court, and a court-appointed trustee takes over to get Iris her missing assets back. But you've got to watch out for this. This is a massive exam trap. A solvent, financially healthy firm means you have absolutely zero coverage, literally none. It does not matter what else went wrong. If Iris's firm is totally solvent, but they just treated her terribly, like maybe an agent spilled hot coffee all over her and then insulted her dog, the Securities Investor Protection Corporation is going to do absolutely nothing for her. The firm has to financially fail. That is the mandatory trigger.
So, let's talk numbers. How much of Iris's missing money can we actually rescue here?
$500,000. Burn that number into your memory right now. 500 grand is the absolute maximum total protection per customer per capacity. So if Iris had $1 million in missing securities, the rescue mission stops dead at this $500,000 mark.
But wait, because there is a second number you absolutely have to know, and that's $250,000. This is the strict cash sublimit. See, if Iris has actual cash sitting in her brokerage account, specifically cash meant for buying or selling securities, the maximum amount of that cash that can be rescued is capped at $250,000. All right, I want you to physically pause the explainer right here. Think about this scenario. Let's say Iris has $500,000 in missing securities and $250,000 in missing cash, all sitting in one single individual account. Are you thinking she is covered for $750,000 total? Pause it. Think about the math. And here is the exam trap answer. No, absolutely not. The $250,000 cash sublimit sits inside the $500,000 total limit. It is not a magical second bucket that gets added on top. Her total rescue is still strictly capped at $500 grand. Think of it like a box that holds exactly $500,000. You can fill up to half of that box with cash, but the box itself doesn't get any bigger. Make sense? Now, what if Iris is smart and wants more coverage? This brings us to the brilliantly weird concept of capacity. Capacity is the magic word that multiplies your limit. Basically, accounts held in the same capacity get lumped together. So if Iris opens 3 separate individual accounts at the exact same firm, they are all combined into one single shared $500,000 limit. But if she opens a joint account with her husband, boom, a joint account is a completely different capacity. So that joint account unlocks a brand new, totally separate $500,000 limit all to itself. I really want to hammer this home because it's another classic exam trap. The limit is per customer, per capacity. It is not per account.
So if you see a test question where a customer tries to game the system by opening 10 different individual accounts at the same firm, hoping for $5 million in coverage, yeah, they are out of luck. 10 accounts in the exact same capacity still only give you one shared $500,000 limit, period.
Okay, let's shift gears and look inside Iris's account. What is the locksmith actually going to replace?
Here is the good news. They protect securities. That means your standard stocks, bonds, notes, mutual funds, and treasury securities. They also explicitly protect certificates of deposit, or CDs, as long as they are held in a brokerage account. And of course, like we just talked about, they protect the cash sitting in the account that is specifically meant for buying or selling those securities.
But there are unprotected assets you need to watch out for, and you have to know exactly why they fail the test. Bad investment advice? Not covered, because bad advice isn't a custody failure. Nothing actually went missing. You just made a bad call. Foreign exchange trades and commodity futures? Not covered, because they simply aren't securities. And what about fixed annuities and crypto? This is huge. They fail because they are not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. To be a protected investment contract, it has got to be registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Which brings us to this massive neon flashing exam trap. You do not get coverage for market losses or worthless stock. Remember that bodyguard analogy from the very beginning? If Iris bought a terrible stock at $100 a share and it tanked all the way down to zero, the shares are technically still sitting right there in her account. Nothing is missing for our locksmith to replace. You only get rescued if the assets are actually gone.
Now, let's introduce the final battle of the acronyms, because the exam loves to mix these two up.
Enter the challenger, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, otherwise known as the FDIC. Now, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is fundamentally different. It is an actual federal government agency. It's funded by bank premiums, not broker-dealer assessments. And its entire job in life is to protect your bank deposits when a normal, everyday bank fails. Let's do a rapid-fire, side-by-side comparison here so you don't get tripped up. What do they protect? Well, the locksmith protects brokerage accounts. FDIC protects bank deposits. What's the maximum limit? Our brokerage coverage is $500,000 with that $250,000 cash sublimit, right? FDIC is just a flat $250,000 per depositor. Organization type? We've got a private nonprofit on one side and a full-blown federal agency on the other. And the trigger? Broker-dealer failure versus bank failure. Notice how they both throw the number 250,000 at you, but they use it for totally different things. Do not let them confuse you. And that leads right into this final exam trap. The FDIC ensures the static value of a cash deposit, but our brokerage coverage, it restores missing assets at their current value on the exact day the firm collapses. So let's say Iris bought $50,000 worth of stock, but the market dipped and it fell to $30,000 before the firm collapsed and the vault was emptied. Well, the locksmith is only going to return that stock at its current $30,000 value. It does not magically make up that $20,000 difference.
To wrap this whole thing up, I want to leave you with a provocative thought that basically tests every single trap we just covered at once. If Iris gets bad advice on unregistered crypto, the crypto market completely crashes, and her entirely solvent brokerage firm refuses to refund her money, who does she call? Take a second. Think about it. Well, I'll tell you who she doesn't call: the Securities Investor Protection Corporation. The firm didn't fail, crypto isn't registered with the SEC, and bad advice isn't a custody failure. She has absolutely zero coverage in this scenario. Keep these boundaries clear, remember the why behind the rules, and you are going to completely crush these questions on exam day.